I want to first start with providing some information regarding an inmate who suffered a medical emergency overnight in the Shelby County Jail at 201 Poplar. We found this inmate unresponsive. We called the Memphis Fire Department, who made the scene at the jail, transported the inmate to Methodist University Hospital in extremely critical condition. We have launched an administrative investigation into what led up to this medical emergency by this inmate, as well as investigation by our General Bureau investigators. We have been in contact with the District Attorney's Office, who has granted the Sheriff's Office the right or the permission to conduct the potential criminal investigation into what led up to this incident involving this inmate. So again, we have an inmate who suffered a medical emergency overnight, who is at Methodist University Hospital in extremely critical condition. We're continuing to monitor this inmate's status, and we are conducting both an investigation by our General Bureau of Investigation, as well as an administrative investigation to determine if there were any policy violations that occurred. So the reason we called a press conference today is to announce the indictment of one of our corrections deputies. This is Corrections Deputy Bianca Granberry. Bianca Granberry was hired by the Sheriff's Office in November of 2020. She graduated from our academy in February of 2021, several weeks after she was hired. In the time that she spent here at the academy, we spent an extensive amount of time talking about inmate manipulation, talking about ethics. We spent a lot of time talking about how other officers have found themselves on the wrong side of the law. Ms. Bianca had extensive training in knowing how to deal with inmates who display behavior consistent with manipulation. She left this academy well trained. We spent time talking about protecting the brand of the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. We spent time talking about embarrassing her family name. We spent an extensive amount of time talking about public trust. But Ms. Granberry chose to go a different route. On November 13th, 2024, our jail investigators uncovered evidence that suggested that Ms. Bianca Granberry was having an inappropriate relationship with an inmate by the name of Martavious Williams. Investigators determined that Ms. Granberry was aware that Williams had a cell phone in his possession while being detained at the Shelby County Jail. Granberry allegedly engaged in video chats with inmate Williams while he was in jail and she was off work. Well, these conversations led up to what we later found out were monetary transactions that occurred between Williams, Granberry, and members of Williams' friends and family. And the amounts totaled somewhere around $6,400 that were being transferred between these three, or this triangle of people. We conducted a cell search of Williams, and we were able to discover a number of items that were considered, that are considered contrabands and that were concerning to us. One being a shank. And for those who don't know what a shank is, it's a piece of metal that's been sharpened into an edged weapon. So it's a dangerous weapon inside of a jail setting. But then we also found 2 small bags of marijuana, one that was tucked inside clothing within the cell, but then another small bag of marijuana that was being hidden inside of a Lucky Charms bag. And we weighed both of those bags, and it weighed about 66.7 grams in weight. So today, we arrested Granberry. She was indicted, and we arrested her outside of an elementary school. And she was charged with official misconduct and bribery of she was charged with official misconduct, yes, and bribery of a public servant. Mr. Williams was charged with 3 counts of introducing contraband into a penal institution and bribery of a public servant. His cellmate, Malik Williams, was indicted on 3 counts of introducing a contraband into a penal facility. So I can tell you this is quite disturbing for us at the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. Correctional officers are essential to the safety and security of inmates, volunteers, and other staff members. We view corrections deputies as protectors and not predators. And so it's disappointing that the same person who was patrolling the hallways of the Shelby County Jail now find themselves on the other side of the law, behind bars. And let me just say this to anyone who's watching. For our correctional officers, I said to a graduating class yesterday, you will never get rich doing this business. You'll never be rich being an officer. But you'll never go hungry. But here's the reality behind it. For anyone who wears the badge, who believes that they are entitled to additional compensation outside of their salary, just like Ms. Granberry, at some point in time, there's going to be a knock at the door. And that knock is going to be our detectives coming to arrest and put them behind bars. Ms. Granberry has been relieved of duty pending the outcome of an administrative investigation, and she is relieved of duty without pay. This is extremely disappointing to find such a young officer who we spent a lot of time training and talking about these very incidents to find themselves behind bars. And with that, I'll take your questions.
What made you start looking into this? Were there obvious signs that she was having an inappropriate relationship?
So some things I won't be able to unpack fully because we obviously have a criminal investigation, but we have a trial that we have to prepare for. And we want to make sure that the district attorney's office has the best opportunity to prosecute this case. But I will say that we did receive a tip. We got information that this type of relationship was occurring. And so we assigned some detectives to start looking into the allegations or the tip that we had received. And Lord behold, here we are today with an indictment of a correctional officer.
Is there any possibility that there are other inmates who might have been a part of this as well?
Well, we know the cellmate of Mr. Williams was involved as well. And I can tell you that the investigation continues, and we will follow any tip or any evidence wherever it takes us. So if more people are connected to this case, we'll have more arrests, more indictments.
Just a couple of minor things. Can we get spellings on Martavious and Malik? I just want to make sure I got their names spelled right.
Sure, we'll provide that to you after this press conference.
And then, so this is the third corrections deputy that's been indicted since November. So what is SEO doing to kind of prevent this from happening in the future? We're looking at new training, what are we doing?
Yeah, so we have what we consider a pretty robust background check. And we have one of the finest academies in the state of Tennessee. But unfortunately, people make bad decisions. And so we hope that Granberry will serve as a warning to the next group of correctional officers that's going to come through this academy. But then also for our existing staff, because if it's not clear, if it hasn't been clear before, it should be clear now. We are always watching. We're always looking. We're always supporting the officers to do it the right way, but then we're always ready to investigate and arrest the ones who do it the wrong way.
Is there any, so you mentioned that there were friends and family that were exchanging money to Williams as well, so is there potential for indictments for them?
Yeah, so this investigation continues. And so We are still working with the district attorney's office. We're still in conversations with them. And again, more indictments could come as the investigation continues.
Do we have any idea how the inmate got the cell phone and the other illegal contraband that you mentioned?
We have not made that determination yet as to how Mr. Williams acquired the first cell phone. Thank God we have recovered that cell phone and been able to have some conversations regarding the information or the content that we found inside of it. We hope that Mr. Granberry will share with us additional information, but if not, we'll just conduct our own investigation and see where it takes us.
As far as the transactions, again, were these payments to Williams, like, were Granberry and friends and family giving money to him? Was he giving money to them? Like, what was kind of going on?
So I'll be brief. I'll be brief in this. What we found was money being sent to Granberry to purchase items, which we believe were contrabands that could have made it inside of our jail. And so there were transactions between Granberry back to this triangle of friends and family, and money coming back to Granberry. So again, this is a unique and interesting case. I don't think I've seen one like it before, but it definitely tells us that we have to sharpen our tools when it comes to investigating these cases. But I am glad that we were brave to bring this to a conclusion and get Granberry out of our jail.
What the inmate that you're talking about, what was he charged with? You might have said that already.
We'll have to get that information for you after the press conference.
And the earlier information you gave us about the person that passed away, was it at the penal farm or at 201 Poplar?
So the inmate from the earlier comments was found at 201 Poplar at the Shelby County Jail. And again, transported to Methodist University Hospital in extremely critical condition.
Did he have physical injuries, or does it seem to be like a health medical just emergency?
So what we've been able to determine, and this is a preliminary investigation, is that the inmate suffered a medical emergency that alerted our correctional officers, who called for medics to provide first aid and a transport to the hospital.
You mentioned there's an investigation to determine if, like, policy violations occurred. So do we think that this occurred between, like, something with the deputies or inmates? Like, what do we know about what kind of caused medical emergency?
Yeah, so anytime we have an inmate that either passes away in our facility or is listed in critical condition, we always review our policies just to do a checks and balance. So it's not anything that's out of the ordinary as it relates to reviewing our policies or conducting an administrative investigation. It's nothing outside of the ordinary for our detectives or even the TBI in some cases to investigate incidents such as these. So unfortunately, I hate to use the word routine, but these are some routine procedures that we have to follow in such incidents.
When would Ms. Granberry be in court?
So I don't have her assigned court date. She was arrested, I believe, around 8 a.m. this morning, as I said, outside of an elementary school, and she was transported to jail. Now, she's going through the process of being booked, and whether or not she's assigned a court date today or Monday, I will have to follow up with you later on that.
You mentioned that pretty much she's been involved with this department since 2020. Are investigators looking into whether or not she's been involved with inmates like this before?
So that was all part of our investigation, and of course, a huge chunk of our investigation relies heavily on whether or not we have participation from whether it's Granberry or Williams or the additional inmate. So we don't know that answer yet. Again, we welcome Ms. Granberry or her attorneys, if she has one, to come share that information with our detectives.
Who are the inmates' name that's in the hospital?
We're not going to release that at this time for HIPAA protection. Any other questions?
As far as the money is concerned, you think people have been better off buying lottery tickets or something?
Ask that one more time.
I said, as far as the money is concerned, the amount was so small. I mean, you think they've been better off buying lottery tickets or something?
Well, what I would hope is whether it's our inmates in the jail or whether it's our correctional officers or friends or family of inmates, is that we will all serve as partners when it comes to providing the safest jail possible. Yesterday I spoke about new doors for the jail. And so we're investing lots of dollars, to the tune of $6 million indoors to try to provide a safer jail. And so we need participation in that. And so I'm disappointed for anyone who participates in behavior that would bring danger of any kind to our jail. So I want family members and friends to make better decisions. I want our inmates to make better decisions. And certainly I want our staff to uphold the trust that the public has bestowed upon us.
And you say Ms. Granberry had been a jailer since 2020?
Ms. Granberry graduated from the academy February of 2021.
21.
You think she might have known this guy before?
There's no indications that she had a previous relationship or knew this individual before. Now, I'm not naive. Many of our staff come from the very same community that some of these inmates come from. So I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. We hire from, the community in which we all live.